Welcome to the Ramayana, Stories of Dharm and Devotion. I'm Sandeep, your storyteller, guiding you through the eternal journey of Valmiki's Ramayana. Our narrative draws deeply from Valmiki's original text and is enriched with stories from other Indian traditions, offering you a complete and immersive experience of this eternal tale. Share this podcast with your loved ones and let the timeless lessons of the Ramayana inspire your journey. In our previous episode, Lanka had burned under the fury of the Vanars. Kumbh and Nikumbh had fallen. Makaraksha had tried to hide behind cows and bullocks, but Ram had upheld dharm and struck him down. Sita's faith had grown stronger in Ashok Vatika, and the gods had praised Ram for his strength guided by righteousness. But the war did not pause. When the news of Makaraksha's death reached Raavan, he sat in stunned silence. One by one, his greatest warriors had marched to battle. In today's episode, Raavan's desperation deepens. We will see him call Tarani, the son of Vibhishan, and ask him to save Lanka. We will witness a prince torn between loyalty to his land and devotion to Ram. On the battlefield, Tarani will fight fiercely, yet his heart will long for liberation in Ram's hands. We will see Ram struggle with a painful dilemma: how to raise his weapon against one who bows with true devotion. And in the end, we will witness a moment of profound grace where death becomes liberation. But the storm will not end there. From the heavens will come Virbahu, born of a Gandharva princess and Raavan, riding a mighty elephant blessed by God Brahma. We will see Bhasmaksha, whose deadly gaze turns warriors to ashes, fall by Ram's wisdom. We will witness another clash of devotion and destiny as Virbahu seeks death at the Lord's hands. One by one, the last pillars of Lanka will fall. Only two will remain: Raavan and Indrajit. Join me now as grief and devotion walk side by side, as fathers weep and warriors seek liberation, and as the war of Lanka moves closer to its final and inevitable end.
When the news of Makaraksha's death reached Raavan, he sat still for a long time. He wondered, Makaraksha, dead? He could not believe it. One by one, his greatest warriors had gone to battle. One by one, they had not returned. Kumbhakarn was gone. Atikai was gone. Kumbh and Nikumbh were gone. Now even Makaraksha had fallen. Raavan whispered to himself and thought, what kind of enemy is this? His voice was not loud now. It was heavy. Whom should he send next? His mind turned to one name, Tarani. He ordered that the prince be brought before him. Tarani entered the royal hall calmly. He was the son of Vibhishan, yet he remained in Lanka when his father had left. Raavan looked at him carefully. Raavan said slowly, save Lanka. Your father advised me. He told me what was right, but my ego stood in the way. I refused to listen. I kicked him away. He left and took refuge with Ram. For a moment, Raavan's voice softened and he continued, you are his son, yet you have stayed back in Lanka. Help your land now. Tarani stood firm. He quietly said, respected uncle, my father always told me that one should not speak ill of somebody who is not there. He also advised me to always be loyal to the land where I remain. My father acted as he believed was right. He did his duty, and I shall do mine. Raavan's eyes narrowed. He replied, you are a brave warrior. Go and win this battle. Tarani answered calmly, the war is not the time to debate good and bad. It is time for action. I will do what must be done. As a resident of Lanka, it is my duty to protect and fight for our land. Hence, I shall do the same. Raavan felt pleased with his words. He rose from his throne. With his own hands, he decorated Tarani for battle. A grand chariot was brought and adorned with royal symbols. Drums beat loudly. The prince was ready. Before leaving, Tarani went to his mother, Sarma. She too stayed back with Tarani as advised by Vibhishan before he left. Vibhishan had advised her to take care of Sita and try to protect dharm in Lanka while he was gone. Sarma looked at Tarani with loving eyes. Tarani said gently, Mother, the king has asked me to go to battle. Now I will get the chance to see Lord Narayan in the form of Ram. I will see father again. I will touch his feet. Please permit me to go. Sarma's heart shook. She said firmly, I will not allow this. Come with me. Let us leave Lanka. Let Raavan remain with his pride. Your father left because he stood for dharm. Go to Ram. Serve him. He is none other than Lord Narayan. Not one person in Lanka will survive this war. You are learned. You know the truth. Why speak of fighting Ram? Tarani bowed his head respectfully. He said, Mother, I know Ram is God Vishnu himself. I know this. Sarma trembled. She asked, Then why go? Tarani answered softly, If I die at Ram's hands, I will attain heaven. And who truly kills whom? All that we see are forms of God Vishnu. He smiled gently and continued, Do not grieve for death. Father has taught me that the body is only a shell. If Ram knows I am Vibhishan's son, he may not kill me. If I live, I will return and greet you again. However, one thing is certain, I will fight like a warrior without any consideration for opposition. I will fight with my full might, no matter who is the opposition or whatever is the outcome. That is the only way to be true to my duty towards our motherland. Sarma tried to hold back her tears. She knew her son was wise, yet she was still a mother. She placed her hand on his head. She blessed him by saying, May dharm guide you. Tarani prepared for battle. But he did something strange. He wrote the name of Ram all over his body, on his arms, on his chest, on his forehead. He took mud from the sacred Ganga and made small tablets. On each one he engraved the name of Ram. He fixed them upon his chariot. Then he lifted his bow. Calm, steady, fearless. He walked toward the western gate of Lanka. The drums sounded again. The gates opened, and the son of Vibhishan rode out to face Ram, with Ram's own name shining upon him. Tarani rode out. The Vanars saw him and rushed forward with loud cries. They hurled rocks. They uprooted trees. They broke small hills and flung them through the air. Tarani stood firm in his chariot. His arrows flashed like lightning. Each arrow cut through rock and tree. Each arrow struck with sharp force. So powerful was his attack that many Vanars stepped back. Some even began to flee. The dust rose high. From a distance, Ram watched the warrior advancing. He turned to Vibhishan. Ram asked calmly, Who is this? He fights with skill and fearlessness. Vibhishan looked carefully. He knew at once. But he spoke wisely. He said, This is a relative of Raavan. He is learned. He is pious. Ram nodded. But in Tarani's heart, a different fire burned. He was not fighting out of hatred. He was anxious. He thought, How long must I wait? When will I see Ram? When will I see father? He drove the Vanars away, not out of cruelty, but to clear his path. He wanted one thing, a glimpse of Ram. Suddenly Neil stood before him. Neil shouted, Stop. Tarani raised his hand. He said, Please let me pass. I wish to see Ram and Lakshman. The Vanars nearby burst into laughter. They said, First Makaraksha came with cows. Now comes one with Ram's name written all over him. What will these Rakshasas think of next? Neil uprooted a huge tree and swung it toward Tarani's head. With one hand, Tarani caught the tree and threw it aside. Neil rode and lifted a mountain peak. He hurled it down. Tarani smashed it into pieces with his make. Then, with a swift arrow, he struck Neil. Neil fell back, wounded. Hanuman leapt high and landed upon Tarani's chariot. He snatched the whip from the charioteer. Tarani turned and struck Hanuman with a powerful slap. Hanuman fell to the ground, but he rose again at once and leapt back onto the chariot. The two fought fiercely. Yet once more, Tarani flung Hanuman down. The Vanars gasped. Then Angad came forward. He hurled rocks, mountains, and boulders. But Tarani's arrows cut everything in midair. Angad struck down the horses, pulling the chariot. The charioteer quickly brought fresh horses. Tarani lifted his heavy iron make and struck Angad on the chest. Angad fell hard upon the ground. Soon many Vanars surrounded him. It looked as if rocks were raining from the sky. But Tarani, master of weapons, cut them all apart. Succession attacked. Sugriv attacked. Yet neither could withstand his sharp arrows. The prince drove his chariot steadily forward. His eyes were fixed on one place. Ram. At last, Tarani reached where Ram stood. Ram and Lakshman were ready. Vibhishan stood to Ram's left. Jambavan stood to his right. Tarani slowed his chariot. Quietly, he bowed first to Vibhishan. Then he stepped down. He walked toward Ram. And he bowed deeply. The Vanars murmured in surprise. Vibhishan spoke to Ram. See, the enemy bows before you. Ram looked calm. He said, an enemy comes to battle to fight. Why would he bow? Vibhishan replied softly, he is your devotee. He worships you. He has come because his king commanded him. Ram's eyes grew thoughtful. He said, if that is so, then he must be given what he seeks. Lakshman stepped forward quickly. He warned, that would be dangerous. What if he asks for Ravan's victory? Ram smiled gently. He said, you must understand the heart of a devotee. The battlefield fell silent. The warrior, who fought like a storm, now stood with folded hands. And destiny waited for what he would ask next. The battlefield stood still for a moment. Tarani bowed once again. But suddenly, Tarani lifted his head. His eyes grew fierce. His voice changed. He growled loudly. He said, Ram, you wish to return to your land. But you will not be able to. Lakshman's eyes flashed with anger. Without waiting, he released sharp arrows at Tarani. The arrows flew fast. But Tarani cut them off in midair. Lakshman then invoked a weapon that spread deep darkness across the field. Shadows covered the sky. The air grew thick. For a moment, Tarani faltered. Lakshman seized the chance. He invoked the Gandharva weapon. A brilliant force swept across the demon army. In a single terrible wave, Tarani's entire army was destroyed. Dust and silence followed. Enraged, Tarani lifted a spiked make. With great strength, he hurled it at Lakshman. The blow struck hard. Lakshman fell senseless to the ground. Hanuman rushed forward at once. He lifted Lakshman in his arms and leapt away from danger. Tarani now stood alone. He raised his voice and said, Ram, come and face me. Ram stepped forward. He calmly said, I will kill you soon. Tarani looked at Ram. And in that moment, something changed. He saw more than a warrior. He saw the entire universe within Ram's form. He saw creation and destruction. He saw God Brahma. He saw God Vishnu. He saw God Shiva. He saw the three qualities, Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva, shining within him. His bow slipped from his hand. He threw it aside. He folded his hands and bowed deeply. Tarani said, You are the Lord of the universe. You are the beginning and the end. You are all the gods. You take many forms to destroy evil. His voice trembled, not with fear, but devotion. He continued, Grant me refuge at your lotus feet. I was born in the clan of demons. That is my misfortune. If you end my life with your own hands, I will attain heaven. Ram's eyes filled with tears. He lowered his bow. Ram softly said, How can I kill one who speaks with such devotion? He turned to Vibhishan and asked, Vibhishan, what should I do? I may not get Sita back. How can I hurt someone who has already surrendered before me? If I release an arrow, it will wound my own heart. Ram sat down. The battlefield watched in silence. Tarani understood. He thought, Ram is pleased. That is why he refuses to fight. But how will I gain liberation if he does not kill me? He knew he had to act. Suddenly he shouted and said, Ram, what makes you think I will not fight? I will kill you. I will place Sita on Raavan's throne. Lakshman, though weakened, lifted his bow again. He aimed arrows at Tarani. But Tarani did not want Lakshman to engage with him again. He wanted only Ram's hand to end his life. Vibhishan understood his heart. He spoke urgently. Ram, Lakshman once fainted fighting him. Why send him again? You must fight him yourself. Ram rose slowly. He released arrows at Tarani. Tarani cut them all apart. Ram then used a crescent-shaped arrow to kill the horses of Tarani's chariot. The chariot fell useless. Tarani leapt down. He began hurling rocks, trees, and anything he could find. Ram grew tense. Vibhishan spoke again. This warrior can die only by the weapon of God Brahma. Ram closed his eyes briefly. Then he invoked the Brahmastra. The divine weapon shone brightly in his hands. Seeing it, Tarani smiled. He softly said, "Grant me a place near you after I die." Ram released the weapon. The Brahmastra flew like blazing light. It struck Tarani. His head was cut off cleanly. As it fell to the earth, something wondrous happened. The severed head began to chant, "Ram, Ram, Ram." The battlefield fell silent. A demon by birth, a devotee by heart, liberated by the Lord himself. The war of Lanka had just witnessed one of its most profound moments. When Tarani fell, the battlefield did not roar. It fell silent. The head that had been cut off still whispered, "Ram, Ram," as it touched the earth. At that sight, Vibhishan trembled. He ran forward. He fell upon the ground near his son's body. Tears burst from his eyes. Ram quickly walked to him. He gently raised Vibhishan. Ram asked softly, "Why do you grieve so deeply?" Vibhishan looked at him through tears. He said, "You have just killed Tarani, my son." Ram stood still. Ram was surprised to hear that. He said, "If you had told me earlier, I would not have fought him." Around them, even the Vanars were silent. Lakshman lowered his head. Hanuman folded his hands. The air was heavy with sorrow. Ram looked at Vibhishan and said quietly, "Your heart is made of stone. You have caused your own son's death." Vibhishan shook his head slowly. He said, "No, Ram, I do not cry because I have lost my son." His voice grew steady. He continued, "I cry because I have seen his devotion and his strength. My son died in your hands. What greater fortune could there be? He has attained heaven." He folded his hands before Ram and said, "All those who die by your arrows reach heaven. If I could give up my own body at your feet, I would do so gladly. But God Brahma has given me the boon of immortality." Ram's eyes grew moist again. The war had taken a son, but it had also given liberation. The news of Tarani's death reached Raavan. He was stunned. Another warrior gone. Another pillar fallen. His anger was no longer loud. It was heavy and cold. In the palace, Sarma heard the news. She sunk to the ground. Her son had gone to battle knowing the truth, and he had not returned. Tears flowed from her eyes. But somewhere within, she knew. Her son had chosen his path, and he had found his Lord. In his dark hall, Raavan sat alone. He thought deeply. His breath grew heavy. He thought, whom should I send now? The pride that once filled his chest was cracking. But he would not bend. His mind searched for the next warrior. The war of Lanka was not over, but destiny was closing in. Far above in heaven lived a Gandharva named Virbahu, grandson of Chitrasen. Chitrasen's daughter, Chitrangda, had once been abducted by Raavan. From that union, a son was born. His name was Virbahu. Though born in the line of Rakshasas, Virbahu was pious. He was a devotee of God Vishnu. He worshipped God Brahma with deep sincerity. Pleased with his devotion, God Brahma granted him a mighty elephant. That elephant was equal in strength to Airavat, the great mount of Indra. God Brahma said to him, "With this elephant, you will win many battles. But remember the day this elephant dies, you too shall die." God Brahma added gently, "You will carry devotion toward God Vishnu in your heart. At the end of your life, you shall attain heaven by his own hands." Virbahu did not live in Lanka, but he had once told Raavan, "When there is need, call me." Hearing of the terrible war in Lanka, Virbahu decided to go. He wished to meet Raavan, but deep within, he wished for something else. He wished to see Ram. He wished to behold him with his own eyes. When Virbahu entered Lanka, he was stunned. Burnt houses stood like black shadows. The air smelled of smoke. Corpses of Vanars and Rakshasas lay scattered. Dogs, jackals, and vultures fed upon them. The ocean itself had been bridged with rocks and trees. He thought, this is no ordinary war. He rose into the sky upon his mighty elephant. From the western side, he saw Ram and Lakshman standing calm. Vibhishan stood beside them. Virbahu silently bowed from the sky. Then he turned and entered the palace. Raavan was not sitting on his throne. He sat upon the ground. Tears flowed from his eyes. He looked tired. Virbahu stepped forward. Raavan looked up. He slowly said, Virbahu. Virbahu asked gently, what is the reason for this carnage, father? Raavan answered with bitterness, Ram was exiled by his father. He wandered the forests with his wife and brother. When Surpankha went there to gather flowers, her nose and ears were cut. I brought Ram's wife to Lanka out of revenge. Ram came with monkeys. Now Kumbhakarna and many great heroes are dead. Virbahu listened quietly. Then he said, Father, I promise to you that I will be there whenever you need me. If you allow, I will go to battle. In his heart he thought, if I die at Ram's hands, I will attain heaven. Raavan knew what would happen, but the warrior within him did not want to give up. He allowed another son, Virbahu, to go. He blessed him to be victorious in the war. When Chitrangda heard this, she ran to her son. She cried, Why do you wish to go? So many have died. Why must you join them? Virbahu answered calmly, If I do not go, who will go? I am duty-bound to my father. Ram also went to the forest due to his duty to obey his father's wishes. And I am glad I am also getting a chance to do the same. And if I die in this war at his hands, I will go straight to heaven. His voice held no fear, only certainty. His mother wept, but she knew she could not stop him. With great commanders and soldiers beside him, Virbahu mounted his mighty elephant. The animal shone like a white mountain. Drums beat. Conches blew. The gates of Lanka opened once again. Virbahu rode out toward the battlefield. His heart held devotion. His destiny waited ahead. And once again, the war of Lanka prepared for another fierce chapter. With Virbahu went with a fierce demon named Bhasmaksha. The gates opened. The armies on both sides saw each other. At once, they began to roar. The Vanars beat their chests. The demons shouted war cries. Dust rose into the sky. Behind them all came another terrible warrior. His name was Bhasmaksha. He rode upon a chariot covered with leather. His eyes too were covered, for whoever Bhasmaksha looked upon burned instantly to ashes. Seated high upon his mighty elephant, Virbahu wondered, how will I get a glimpse of Ram? He turned to Bhasmaksha and said, Uncover your eyes and proceed. Bhasmaksha drove forward. As he neared Ram's position, Vibhishan quickly spoke to Ram. Ram, be careful. Whoever Bhasmaksha looks at will burn to death. Ram listened silently. Vibhishan continued, he once prayed to God Brahma and asked for immortality. God Brahma refused. Then he asked for a boon that whoever he looked at would burn. God Brahma granted it. Ram asked, Since you know everything about him, then also tell me how we get rid of him. Vibhishan's voice grew grave. He said, he tested the boon on his own companions. They were reduced to ashes. After that, he covered his eyes with leather. He lives alone. No one dares to come near him. Then Vibhishan added wisely, Hold a mirror before him. Let him see his own face. He will burn by his own power. Ram invoked a divine weapon. An arrow left his bow. It did not strike Bhasmaksha directly. Instead, a strange miracle happened. All the Vanars in Ram's army suddenly transformed into shining mirrors. Everywhere Bhasmaksha turned, he saw reflections. For one moment, he saw his own face. In that instant, flames burst forth. The demons screamed. Within seconds, Bhasmaksha was reduced to a heap of ashes. The battlefield gasped. When Virbahu saw this, anger rose within him. He pressed his heels against his elephant. The great beast charged forward like a white mountain in motion. Angad rushed ahead. He lifted a mountain peak and hurled it at Virbahu. Virbahu shattered it with sharp arrows. He then shot arrows at Angad. Angad fell wounded. Seeing Angad fall, Hanuman uprooted a huge tree and flung it. Virbahu cut it apart. Hanuman seized an even larger tree and hurled it with all his strength. The tree struck the elephant but shattered. The mighty elephant roared in fury. It charged at Hanuman. Virbahu's arrows struck Hanuman. Hanuman fell wounded. Nal, Neel, Kumuda, Devendra, Mahendra all rushed forward. Virbahu's arrows rained upon them. One by one, they fell back injured. His elephant was no ordinary beast. It was equal to Aravat in strength, the mount of Indra. Long ago, the elephant had prayed to die at the hands of God Narayan. And God Brahma had said, that wish shall be fulfilled. Seeing his warriors fall, Ram decided it was time. He began walking forward. Lakshman stood beside him. Vibhishan and Sugriv followed. As they moved, Ram asked quietly, "Who is this warrior?" Vibhishan replied, "He is Virbahu, son of Raavan and the Gandharva princess Chitrangda." He continued, "He has a boon from God Brahma. As long as the elephant he rides remains alive, he too will live. When the elephant falls, he will fall." Virbahu raised his voice and asked, "Who will fight me?" Ram stepped forward calmly and said, "I will." The wind grew still. The battlefield waited. Devotion and destiny were about to meet again. When Virbahu saw Ram standing before him, his heart trembled. He thought, this is no ordinary man. This is God Vishnu in human form. He climbed down from his elephant. He folded his hands. He bowed deeply before Ram. Ram felt troubled. For second time after Tarani, he thought, how can I kill one who bows to me with devotion and surrender to me? Virbahu understood. He said within, if he does not kill me, I will not achieve my aim. He rose quietly. He climbed back upon his elephant. He lifted his bow. He said, let the battle begin. Ram and Virbahu began to fight. The sky filled with arrows. The sound of arrows striking arrows echoed like thunder. When Virbahu invoked the fire weapon, Ram answered with the water weapon. Steam rose. Sparks flew. Virbahu then shot a sharp arrow. It struck Ram on the chest. Ram steadied himself. He shot an arrow to cut Virbahu's bow. But the arrow merely touched and fell away. Ram then invoked a crescent arrow. This time, the bow was cut. Virbahu felt joy inside. He thought, the moment is near. I fight Lord Narayan himself. He quickly took another bow and resumed shooting. Ram cut every arrow. Lakshman, seeing Ram wounded, stepped in. He shot arrows that shattered Virbahu's shafts. Virbahu then struck Lakshman. The arrows pierced Lakshman's chest. Lakshman fell to the ground. Virbahu hurled a make toward him. Ram cut it apart instantly. Virbahu called out, this is not fair. Why does someone interfere in our fight? Why do you stop my weapons aimed at Lakshman? Ram replied calmly, there is no difference between me and Lakshman. Virbahu nodded and agreed, I know. All are forms of Lord Narayan. For a moment, Ram remained silent. Then the fight resumed. Ram's arrow struck Virbahu hard. Virbahu fainted upon his elephant. Seeing his master fall, the mighty elephant rose into the sky, carrying him. Lakshman said, use the Brahmastra and end this. Ram disagreed and said, that would not be fair. He is noble and learned. Virbahu regained consciousness. Sugriv spoke quickly. As Vibhishan shared with us, his life is tied to the elephant. If the elephant dies, he dies. Sugriv leapt into the sky. He hurled a massive boulder. The elephant caught it in its tusks and crushed it. Sugriv hurled a tree. It struck the elephant's head and shattered. The elephant seized Sugriv in its trunk and threw him aside. Virbahu called out again, Ram, come yourself. Do not let others interfere. Ram's eyes grew firm. He said, You speak of fairness. Your aunt Surpankha came to entice us and was punished. Your father abducted my wife. He drove his elder brother Kuber from Lanka and seized the kingdom. However, I agree with you. You and your elephant shall die at my hands. The words were calm but sharp. The battle resumed. Arrows flew. Ram was struck again and fell briefly. Seeing this, Vibhishan lifted a bow and fought in Ram's place. Virbahu looked at him and said, Our dynasty is blessed to have one so devoted to God Vishnu. Ram rose again. The fight continued. Virbahu invoked the divine weapon given by God Brahma. Ram could not repel it at once. Then the vine god appeared quietly and advised Ram to use the weapon given by sage Sarbhanga. Ram invoked that sacred weapon. It cut apart Virbahu's missile. Then it flew forward and struck the elephant. The great beast's head was severed. The elephant fell. Its long-held wish was fulfilled. Virbahu leapt down to the ground. Ram cut his bow once more. Virbahu stood unarmed. Virbahu folded his hands. He said, Use the weapon of God Vishnu and end me. Ram hesitated. But he knew, if Virbahu did not fall, Raavan would not fall. Ram invoked the divine weapon. It shone brightly. It flew straight. It cut off Virbahu's head. As the head fell, it chanted, Ram, Ram, Ram. Vibhishan brought the severed head before Ram. Ram touched it gently. With that touch, Virbahu was freed from earthly bonds. Ram turned to Vibhishan and asked, How many such warriors remain in Lanka? Vibhishan bowed his head and replied, Now only to remain Raavan and Indrajit. The battlefield grew quiet again. The end was drawing closer, but the fiercest storm was yet to come.
In this episode, we saw Raavan's heart grow heavier. After the fall of Makaraksha, he sat in silence, asking himself what kind of enemy he was facing. One by one, his warriors had gone. None had returned. In that moment of doubt, he turned to Tarani, the son of Vibhishan. We witnessed a prince who knew the truth. Tarani understood that Ram was none other than God Vishnu. Yet he chose the battlefield, not out of hatred, but out of longing. He wished for liberation in Ram's hands. On the field, he fought like a storm. He wounded Neela. He struck Hanuman. He brought down Angad. Even Lakshman fell beneath his blow. And then came the most tender moment of war. Tarani saw the universe within Ram. He bowed. He prayed. He asked for refuge. Ram's eyes filled with tears. How could he kill a devotee? Yet destiny demanded it. And when the Brahmastra was released, Tarani's head fell, chanting the name of Ram. Vibhishan wept, not in despair, but in awe. His son had attained heaven. But Lanka's trials did not end there. We saw Virbahu rise, born of Raavan and a Gandharva princess. Blessed by God Brahma, he rides a mighty elephant whose life was tied to his own. We saw Bhasmaksha, whose deadly gaze burned all it saw, fall to Ram's wisdom when mirrors turned his power upon himself. We watched another fierce battle fill the sky with arrows. Fire met water. Bow met bow. Lakshman fell again. Sugriv was hurled aside. The elephant of heaven roared and rose into the sky. Yet in the end, even that mighty beast met its destined release. And when Ram invoked a divine weapon, Virbahu too fell, his severed head chanting the holy name. Now the battlefield has grown quieter. The great pillars of Lanka have fallen, only to remain Raavan and Indrajit. In the next episode, we will see Indrajit return, master of illusion, son of Raavan, wielder of terrible weapons. The war will take a darker turn. Shadows will thicken. Truth will once again be tested against deception. Join me in the next episode as fury, illusion, and fate meet once more on the burning fields of Lanka. Share this podcast with your loved ones and let the timeless lessons of the Ramayana inspire your journey. Though the details of this ancient tale may vary across traditions, its essence reminds us of the enduring power of compassion, courage, and hope in the face of adversity. Until next time, may the light of dharma illuminate your path and fill your heart with peace.